welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with digital Nikki Kinzer. Kinzer.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say we should have special introduction, like different music when it's a tech show.
Yes, it would be Devo. It would absolutely be from Devo's Deep Cuts. I just dated us madly.
Oh boy!
How many of our college student clients and listeners have no idea what I'm talking about?
No idea.
Devo, Depeche Mode.
Oh, one of my favorites.
People are people, Nikki.
They really are.
They surely are. We're still talking about self-care today, but this week we're talking about the digital tools that you can use to create and track new habits. Are you excited about this?
I'm going to sit back and relax and listen to you go.
No, this is all
No,
you.
I am excited, but I got to be honest. I was looking at the show notes and I'm like, oh my. There are a lot of things out there, people.
There are a lot of things out there. But hopefully, and it's like with all things, right? When we do these digital episodes, there is absolutely no way that we can cover everything, every app, every option, every platform. There are just too many. And so my hope is that this conversation serves as a launch pad for you, dear listener, to do your own research and meet your unique needs, because your hardware is likely unique, your software is unique, your personality is unique, and you are unique. You are unique. You're a unique and special flower, butterfly.
That's right.
Whatever your choice of uniqueness is. And so really, this is not be all end all. I know there are a ton of options out there. What I've done, like all of these things, I've tried to find the ones that are popular, some that are kind of unsung heroes, and geez, I feel pretty good about this stuff. So
awesome.
Here we go.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Yes. Before we dig in, head over to takecontroladhd.com, get to know us a little bit better, listen to the show right there on the website, or subscribe to our mailing list. And you can get an update every time one of these shows goes live via email. It's a really handy way to just click right through and listen. Of course, you can always subscribe on your iTunes app, your Pocket Casts, Overcast, any of your very favorite podcast listening applications. Connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD, and call us. You can always call us 503-664-4ADD. We'd love
and I'm just going to add one more thing.
Do it.
If you like the show, please go into iTunes and rate us.
Oh, yes, those ratings. It is, and it's a little bit convoluted. I know it's hard to do it because iTunes does not make rating very easy. You have to have an account. You have to, but seriously, take 2 minutes and do it, because it deeply helps us. If you've ever heard anything from Nikki that has helped you in any way,
or Pete,
or me, probably Nikki, maybe me.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I hear great feedback about you, Pete. Right?
Are they, well? Maybe they didn't sleep well or something. I can't judge that. But in any case, if you've ever had anything helpful come out of this show, it is enormously helpful to have lots and lots of people rate this show and tell others that it's useful. That helps others discover it. So please, we appreciate that. Okay, here we go. So digital self-care. When you think of digital self-care, Nikki, my dear friend and colleague,
yes,
what do you think of?
Fitbit.
That's it?
I think of the Fitbit.
That's your big thing?
Yes, and I think of remember when we talked about this a long time ago, and we both used the same app, and now of course I don't remember what it was, but it was for health. It was tracking for food and stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
Spoiler, Lose It.
I can't remember.
It was called Lose It.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that wasn't a joke. It was called Lose It.
I thought you were telling me to lose the spoiler.
No. And we're going to talk about it momentarily.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No. And I think of that because I remember us talking about it, and we're like, "Oh, we both use the same app." Obviously, I have not used that app in a long time because I didn't remember the name of it.
Fell off the old home screen, did it?
Yes. But I definitely think of Fitbit.
Well, the trick with these, with digital and self-care, and this is, I think it's so easy to get lost in this process, right? But at the very base level of what we're trying to do is we're trying to, build new habits, right? We're trying to use the technology we have to help us build new habits around self-care, build new routines. We're trying to track our activity in a way that is unique to these devices, that gives us incentive to continue to build those habits, right? That tracking activity and those sort of rewards that come from that tracking, that is incentive to continue to develop these habits and cement these routines. And then to really log and internalize our results. And this gets into how we can use technology to help develop our mindfulness around this thing. So those are the big three areas: to build new habits and routines, to track our activity, and to internalize those results so that we can change our behavior. And so I want to start with just talking about the tracking activity part, because that's the one that everybody thinks of the most, right? We are in the universe of wearables right now. Everybody is making a wearable, and I don't mean like shoes and belts. I mean the digital tools that you
right.
wear on your person, right? Do you have a Fitbit right now, Nikki? Are you one of the Fitbitters?
I did.
I may have just made that up.
I did have one, and then it got lost.
Yeah. Or was it a bracelet?
I think it got lost with the Lose It app.
My first wearable was a Fitbit, but it was before they were bracelets. And so it was the kind that it was a little pill, and it had a little digital screen, a little tiny thing, and it has sat in a little rubber kind of gasket that you could clip on your belt. And I loved it, but one day it fell off my belt while I was mowing the lawn, and I mowed it.
Oh no.
Yes.
Well, there goes all your tracking.
Well, right. That was the problem. It was very frustrating because at the time, this was several years ago, at the time there was no way to wirelessly get the data into my device. So I would have to use it for a couple of days, and then when I plug it in to charge it, it would sync all the data, and that was pretty frustrating. And so, now our choices are limitless, right? From Polar to Misfit to Jawbone to Fitbit to Xiaomi to Samsung to Apple, everybody's got a wearable. In fact, Oral Roberts University, I just read, is one of the, I don't know if it's the first, certainly one of the leading edge universities that has actually mandated Fitbits for all students, right?
Really?
So, yeah.
Interesting. I've never heard that.
Well, it's a unique atmosphere at Oral Roberts, and so I don't know if you've never been there. There are giant praying hands of Oral Roberts reaching out of a giant fountain. It's definitely a religious backed school by the Oral Roberts was huge in the 70s, 80s. And so, but they have always had at this university a real focus on kind of human health, right? On physical fitness as a part of spiritual and intellectual growth. And so I found that interesting when I read that this morning. One of the things about all these wearables that we can get lost in the sea of devices is that people that I run into don't realize their phones are already capable of tracking their physical activity, right? So if you haven't explored this and your iPhone is up to date, generally if you have an iPhone 5S, I think, or later, you're in pretty good shape. You can open the health app and see how many steps you've taken in a day. If you tend to be zealous about keeping your phone on your person, you're tracking your activity, your paces, your miles walked in a given day, your flights up and down, how many flights of stairs you've gone up and down, depending again on the device. You are tracking your activity, and you may not even know it. So many Android phones, Samsung latest model phones, they're already tracking these devices. If your goals are modest in terms of your fitness, you may already be tracking the data that you want to change in yourself. So just take a look at what device you are already using and see if it's already equipped to do what you want to do. The bottom line is these wearables, they do what we've talked about this so many times, what we really struggle to do ourselves is to keep desired behavior front of mind after we've passed the habit honeymoon phase. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, because that's the thing, is that honeymoon phase is kind of a trap, because you get the Fitbit and then you're really excited about the Fitbit or whatever it is that you're tracking, or however you're tracking it. And then you lose it. And,
I didn't mean that joke to land so hard.
I know. No, but with that aside, I'm also thinking of my husband, which I know he was in that honeymoon phase because he had a Fitbit too. And it was like, for the first week, it was so exciting. Look at him, he's got his Fitbit, he's tracking everything, and looking at the statistics and how he slept, because I remember that was on there too. But yeah, then it fades. So how do you get away from that? How do you get past the honeymoon phase to where it sticks?
Well, that's one of the most interesting things. And I think part of the trick is figuring out how the device can support another invisible area of your life that you already need it to do. And that's one of the reasons these watches, like the Fitbits that tell time, the Apple Watch, the Galaxy Watch, the Moto 360, right? These devices that are tracking your activity, you also have, they're dual use, right? So they're also on your wrist to tell you the time, which means you are incented to put it on every day, even if you're falling off of your habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's super useful. And that's where my original Fitbit, had I not mowed it, likely would have fallen into the habit honeymoon phase. Eventually, it would have been yet another device in the drawer because there was no second use. It was just for tracking. I'm not training for a marathon. I'm not, training to climb a mountain. I'm not doing those things, so I have no other reason to wear it. But I'll tell you, I wear my Apple Watch every single day because it's on my wrist, giving me notifications, emails, time, and also, the added benefit is it's tracking my heart and my activity throughout the day and is giving me reminders to be active. And that ends up being really useful. So that dual use nature is really important, I think, to find a tracker that does that.
Yeah, that's going to get you past it for sure, the honeymoon. Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't want to, the very best trackers, they allow you to track the set of behaviors you're trying to change, but they don't track too much at the expense of accuracy or clumsiness or confusion. You still have to be able to use it. And if it's trying to do too much, if it's an all-in-one device, it may suffer from not being able to track at its very peak the activity you really want to change. If you want to track your sleep, there are dedicated sleep trackers that do that very, very best. If you want your self-care regimen to include, I need better sleep, and I want to track this and collect data on it, you better get one that is really dedicated to tracking sleep, because there is a wide range of these all-in-one devices, including phones, that claim to track sleep but don't end up giving you solid data. So
or it's not accurate, or it's messed up
right,
somehow. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
The next thing about these best trackers for changing habits is that they offer you reminders when you are not reaching your desired change, right? And the example, again, the Apple Watch tells me every hour if I've been still too long, whether I've been standing at my stand-up desk or sitting down at a table. It says, hey, stand up, go take a walk, 60 seconds. And then so it pokes me. And that reminds me, because I have totally lost track of time. I'm probably rat-holing on something, or I'm hyper-focusing. It is a physical disruption that tells me to go take care of myself, right? That is hugely important.
Very important. I like that.
Yeah. Now, final one is that it should, if you're going to be serious about tracking data, it should connect to your overall ecosystem of data, right? Because there is an ecosystem. All these things track in an ecosystem around your health, and all the major manufacturers have one. So does the data of your wearable land where you need it to land? For example, Google Fit is Google's health tracking and fitness tracking ecosystem. So you can buy, your phone and your heart rate monitor and your watch, all of these things. Make sure that they sync into your Google Fit account if that's where you keep your aggregate data. Apple Health is another app that is on your iOS device. It keeps track of everything in there, from your sleep to your calories burned to, it is an incredibly rich set of data. But you can buy specific devices that track your blood sugar levels, that whatever. All these health devices, Apple Health becomes the planet in which all of your data resides and all of your devices orbit around. Samsung Health is another one for the Samsung phones. They abbreviate it S Health, Shelf, which I think is a really unfortunate name, but the idea is the same, right? It's that ecosystem. So many of the manufacturers and app developers have these ecosystems. So make sure that your data, if you're going to be serious about it, make sure it's all going in one place so that you can go to your doctor. I just had a physical on Monday, and so I went in and I opened up my Apple Health app, and my doctor was able to see, here's my trailing heart rate, here's all the stuff that I've been tracking, my levels of activity, and he can look at it, and it's all been collected by data, not self-reported by me, right? It's measured, so I can't lie, I can't trick it. And he can say, you're not exercising enough, you're not sleeping well enough, you're not whatever. So that's I'll move on. But any cool questions so far?
No, that's great.
All right.
Good to know.
Okay. So now we get into this sort of logging and internalizing results. So let's talk about some specific apps around these big areas, right? First, we've got general habits, and there are some really great apps that help you build specific habits around self-care. And they're in this sort of general category because they aren't necessarily around, fitness or sleep or food, whatever. But they do help you change your behavior on a nice sort of daily basis. And so the first one is called Productive. Productive is a really simple little app. It is for iOS only. And what it does is it helps you build good habits and organize your life. And I really like this one key feature because there are a lot of apps that let you set habits and get reminders, right? Mm-hmm. So I could say, for example, I need to drink more water. And so for Productive, I can go in and say, I want to drink more water in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening. And it'll give me a reminder at these various times of day to go drink more water. And all I do is swipe when I've had a glass of water. But what's really cool, it is really cool. It comes with a giant library of potential habits. So as I was browsing this thing, I was thinking, oh, look at that. I have really wanted to develop that habit. I wasn't even thinking about it when I downloaded the app. But, for example, I need to take my medication in the morning and in the evening. And that's something,
that's a good way to remind people of that.
When you open Productive, it shows you, here are your morning habits, here are your afternoon habits, here are your evening habits. So I need to stretch every day. I need to stretch in the morning and the afternoon because I'm pretty tight. So I need to do all my beauty stretches. So I have a little habit that says, here, stretch this. And when I've done my 5 minutes of stretching, I do that. How about I need to practice the guitar for 10 minutes? Okay, here's a little habit. I want to do that every day. So that helps you kind of just remember the things you want to do every day, and it lets you group them. That's the really unique part that I like. The morning and afternoon, it's such a simple display.
I have to just say, I have this picture of you, Pete. I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to do my little stretches. I'm going to practice the guitar. And you do it all in the half hour.
Do you know what I do? I do, and I do this. You should see my Thursdays are a mess because I take my medication, I practice the guitar, I clean the cat litter, and I take out the trash, all in about 30 minutes. And it's like...
and you have a little reminder for each one.
Everybody knows.
That's awesome.
Don't talk to Dad when he's in habit mode. Don't talk to him. He's in beast mode right now. Don't even do it. But
what a great way, too, to not only be reminded, but like you said, to group things together, because some things make sense to group together that way. So, adding a little bit of structure and routine during your day to make sure that these things happen. I love it. Great thing.
And and that one is iOS only, but for my Android friends out there is a cross-platform app called Coach Me Habit Tracker, and there's a link for that in the show notes as well. And it does it's very similar. It has flashier images. It's a little bit busier of an app, and but it is, again, really robust. And it comes from Coach Me, which is it's a rich kind of coaching network. So if you need coaching on something, they have this network of coaches that you can subscribe to help you, be a better leader or help you develop new habits, right? You can join this network and
if you need ADHD coaching, you can call Nikki Kinzer.
Yes. Yeah. Don't go for ADHD coaching at Coach Me because that would not be good. But their software, the Habit Tracker, comes they have it for watches and phones and pretty cool. And the web. So it's
it works the same way.
It works very similarly.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I have a couple of general habit follow-up items. The first one comes from Mary, a college student who wrote us a while ago about a terrific app called Swift Time. What she says is it has a few unidentified Chinese symbols that have not actually been translated yet. So
if you don't know Chinese, you might not know exactly what they're talking about. Yes. But you're building a habit, which is good. So.
Right. For the most part, I think you can work around it. I downloaded it, and it's pretty sweet. She says, I chose to ignore those and appreciate it for its wonderful ability to keep me aware of my time. You set your wake-up time and your set-off time and select as many 10-minute intervals as you want. Let's say you wake up at 7 and leave at 8:15. At 7:35, the app will bing and announce 40 minutes left. You don't have to turn off each alarm, which is great. I can leave it in my bathroom counter and hear the time reminders without having to stop what I'm doing to silence an alarm and keep it from waking up my roommates. It's free. It has been great for her morning since college schedules can be tricky and constantly changing.
Absolutely. I like that a lot because, that is something that's a strategy that I talk to with my clients all the time about, especially bedtime routines. Remember, we talked about that just a couple of weeks ago, working backwards. If you want to be in bed by 10 o'clock, what does that mean? You start your routine at 9. So setting these reminders, this would be a great way to do that with Swift time is to, 9 o'clock. Okay. Time to get ready for bed. 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, as many reminders as you need to start winding down. Great way to use technology into a strategy that is really useful and can definitely work for people.
Well, and the next follow-up is very similar and really cool also because it sort of combines Swift time and a wearable. So this is called the Watchminder. It's a vibrating watch and reminder system, and it's super, super cheap. Which is so great. It comes in 4 colors. It is it's not super cheap, but $69. And in the spirit of wearables, it's super cheap, right?
Right,
so
yeah.
It's kind of a sporty looking watch. And what it does is you set it up on your app, and you can set up to 65 pre-programmed messages and 30 daily recurring alarms that actually give you a vibrating alert on your wrist, so that you can set these same kind of alarms, but they're right there with you to say, hey, pay attention. Hey, what are you doing right now? Hey, brush your teeth. Hey, and it just keeps going throughout the day. And so
that came from a listener too,
that
right?
Also, that came from Katie. So Katie picked this up, and she says, I got a new gadget, Watchminder. I got 2, one for my 6, almost 7-year-old ADHD, ODD first grader, and one is for myself. I hope you all review this one in your reviews soon. And well, I am a huge gadget person, and I think this is a really cool one for if you just want to address this particular issue of being poked and reminded throughout the day to build this new habit. This is a great way to do it.
Well, and I have to say, I think it's cool that she's having her child use it too. Great idea. They probably love having a vibrating watch. What child would not like that? That would be fun.
Exactly. I think it's just perfect.
That's exciting.
So one of the things about self-care we've talked about is sleep and the importance of having good sleep.
Oh, yes.
Right. Well, there are a wide range of tools for tracking your sleep. I'm only going to talk about one, and it's kind of the big bear of this market, and it's from the company called Withings. I call it Withings. It might be Withings. I'm not sure. But it's the Withings Aura. And the Aura is a connected alarm clock and optional sleep tracker. So what it does as an alarm clock is it is tracking constantly your sound, your temperature, and the light in your room. And it's telling you if your sleep environment is sound, right? And then when it's time to wake up, it wakes you with a light program so that it can help you adjust to daylight, especially in our, sort of Northwest. Oh my goodness, it's dark.
Still dark outside.
It's dark in the morning, really, really late.
It's dark all the time.
It's dark all the time. It's really dark in my mind all the time. So that's one of those interesting things that I really like about it. But you can also connect to it. It has this beautiful app that works really well, and it shows you here's what your temperature range is in your house at night, which is probably too hot. You should be between 65 and 72 degrees. My parents said theirs at 58. They let it get really cold at night because they like sleeping like they're in the, Arctic, I guess.
That's right.
But they also track, is there too much light? Is there too much sound? And then you can track it to this sleep motion detector. It's a sleep sensor that you put under your mattress, which will tell you your sleep duration, sleep cycle variation, the time you spend awake, and it wakes you at the best time of your sleep cycle. So this sleep sensor, communicates with the alarm clock and actually says, "Hey, it's time to wake Pete up. So let's turn on the light," and it gently turns on the light, and then it eventually starts playing some sound. It's connected to Spotify. If you have a Spotify premium membership, it'll actually offer you a whole bunch of pre-programmed sleep options. Otherwise, there are some other connected options for that too. But it's a pretty robust sleep tracking option if sleep is something that's important to you.
And I have a comment about this one too. I have lots of comments today, which is unusual when it comes to technology. But what I like about this is that, sleep, when we talked about sleep, we talked about the routine, and we talked about different ideas on how to help you get to sleep in my blog. But what this does, I think, is kind of that pre-work that has to be done. Like, let's try to see if there's a problem and let's identify that, and if it is as simple as turning the temperature down or not having the nightlight in the room because it actually is a distraction and you didn't even know about it.
Right.
What a great thing. So I like, I would recommend people that are having a difficult time falling asleep or waking up in the middle of the night to look at this and see, is there something there that they can kind of tweak, and does it make a difference, and pay attention to that. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I like that one too. I like it because, as you say, it does track the environment. And, I've had people tell me, why don't you just use the Apple Watch? You can download a sleep app and it tracks you. It'll tell you when you're sleeping and it'll plug in. But the problem is, I've worn my Apple Watch all day, and likely it needs to be charged at night, and so I'm not wearing it. That's a challenge. There is I've read online, somebody has had posted if you want to wear your Apple Watch to track your sleep, here is your charging schedule that will help you wear it all day and wear it all night, and when you need to absolutely guarantee you're charging it. So, like when you're in the shower, you charge it for 15 minutes, and when you're eating breakfast, you're sitting down, you charge it for, it's just too much to think about. So that doesn't really work for me. I prefer having something that like the Aura, that actually tracks the universe of sleep issues that I'm maybe dealing with. So I like that one a lot. Mm-hmm. Then we get, obviously, the kind of the most obvious category of self-care is exercise. We've talked about some of these before. The two exercise apps that I really recommend you checking out if you haven't used it yet or used them yet are Runtastic and Runkeeper, and both of them are kind of the big dogs in the tracking market. Strava is another one that's big. Nike Plus has been there. Nike Fuel has been there for a long time. But what's nice about these two is that they have the most well-rounded, I think, set of features, and they tie in very well generally with the ecosystems I was talking about earlier. For example, though, Runkeeper does not sync your running data or walking data or exercise data with Samsung Health, while it does plug into Apple Health and Google Fit, for example. So every time you go for a run, it goes into these other apps and says, here's Pete's run data. And so this earns him extra calories in his nutrition, app, and tells how his heart's doing and that kind of a thing. That's what you want to do. Both of them let you plan your runs. They let you plan maps and store these maps online. You can then share these maps with the world or keep them private, but they allow you to run or walk, against yourself. So you can say, hey, I did this mile in 15 minutes yesterday. Today, I want to try and get it down to 14:30. And it'll tell you, if you have headphones on, it'll say, hey, you're catching up to your opponent, or you're behind your opponent. Speed up, when your opponent is you from yesterday. So it's a pretty cool, concept. I really like the way it tracks the data there. The only other walking running program that I do want to mention is Zombies Run, which I may have talked about years ago. It's been out for a long time. It is, if you want to gamify your exercise, Zombies Run is really, really fun. You put on your headset and you listen to an audio program, and it's telling you, so you just leave your house and you're listening to music or your favorite podcast, and then you hear this, and it turns out as you turned a corner, you ran into a horde of zombies.
Wow.
And it
so
says,
you better run fast.
Yes. And so you have to speed up, and does sort of, if you pay for the upgrade, it does intervals. So you don't even know you're running intervals. You just know that more zombies are here, and you have to turn or run or get to this next location and pick up supplies to build your base and then get back home. And it's a way to add a level of fantasy to your runs that make it a little bit more entertaining if you're struggling for that.
So I like that.
Absolutely. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, join a million other people.
I wrote a blog post when we did the exercise series. I wrote a blog post about fun, kind of more unusual exercises that people maybe haven't thought about. I'm going to actually put this in it. I'm going to update that blog post and put that in there, because I think that's kind of fun. I mean, I think that would make somebody's run a little more interesting.
It is super fun.
That.
Yeah, it's really fun. So I have it, and I don't use it regularly, but some days, it's really hard to get out and run.
It'd be hard not to laugh, especially like when you first are excuse me, when you're first using it. It'd be hard not to be laughing while you're running. You know?
Yes, and to that point, when you're running at a crowded time of day on a particular path,
and you're running really fast,
and you realize like people are looking at you, and you have a look of just abject terror on your face. It's kind of haunting. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So anyway, it's worth checking out. Okay, the last, I know we're going a little bit long, but I have two more categories I want to just talk about. The first one is finding the right tracking solution for your food, because you want to make sure that you're eating well, and knowing what you eat and what everything that you put in your mouth represents to your system, to your body, is really important for self-care. You may not realize just how much sugar is produced by eating an English muffin. You know what I mean? Like,
so
it's
true.
just, and having that impact compared with what your recommended caloric intake is and nutritional intake is really important. So there are a couple of apps that make it super easy. The one we use, and the one that Nikki should be using but isn't, is Lose It, as we've talked about. And
I'm never going to forget about it now.
It is, I adore Lose It. I've been using it for a long, long time.
It is really super easy to use. That's for sure.
It is. It is really easy. It is. It's super easy to track your food. It has a barcode scanner, so you can just scan the barcode. It has a big library of foods from restaurants, of menu items from restaurants that you might partake in regularly, and you can add your own recipes. So you can say, we make this thing called Yums. If you haven't been to Cafe Yum, and you're in Oregon at all, you should check out Cafe Yum. There are a couple
really
of them.
Good.
Is just fantastic. And we actually added a Yum as a recipe by ingredient. And now I can say I've eaten one serving of Yum, as a bowl of rice and beans and things like that. And it tracks everything that goes into the Yum as a recipe that I can then use over and over and over again. So it has a really cool kind of mechanic. Once you've set it up a few times and done it a few times, it's really easy to keep your intake solid. And then Lose It is also a destination for all of your other fitness activities. So if I go out for a run in Runtastic, that Runtastic run appears in Lose It, and Lose It will then tell me, hey, as a result of your run today, you have earned 300 more calories. So you better eat more, because to stay healthy, you've got to eat more and drink more because you sweat and whatever it is. So it keeps you up to kind of balanced, and I really like that.
Wow, that's cool.
MyFitnessPal is another that is more the partner to Runkeeper. They have a partnership together, and so it does a similar kind of partnership. Giant library of foods, easy to enter your food, and in partnership with Runkeeper, it tells you, here is what you've earned today as a result of your work. So,
and I like that. I like earning things.
Yes. And that leads me to the only, I said months ago, 2 months ago, how excited I was about a Christmas acquisition in my house related to data collection. And that is another Withings product, the Smart Body Analyzer. I adore this thing, probably irrationally.
At least you're honest.
It's a scale. And so you step on it every day, and it tells you, here's what your weight is, here's your BMI, here's your fat mass, here's your heart rate, and it syncs it automatically, wirelessly or over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to the app on your phone. And it is also partnered with MyFitnessPal that we just talked about. You can set your weight goals, you can set all of this, everything you want to track, and it tells you right on the screen as you step on it, here's how you've been. It gives you the last week, so you can look at your little graph. It says, hey, you're down 0.3 pounds today. Way to go. You've done something right. And then when you look at the app, it tells you more detail, and you can add notes to your weight tracking. So you can say, hey, Thursday last week, I just got back from a trip and I wasn't very good to myself, so my weight was up. And you can leave that as a note on the graph so you can see why these little spikes occur. So you can take it as far as you want to take it in terms of data tracking, but having the data is really useful, and not having to think about it is really, really cool. So I really like this. This particular model also does air quality screening. It's connected, obviously. Yeah, it's connected through Wi-Fi. So when you stand on the scale, it'll tell you the weather for the day. Highs
you
and
weigh
lows.
this, and it's going to be nice outside, so you could wear shorts and a t-shirt.
Exactly. So, it'll tell you, hey, your air quality, CO2 level in the room is such that you may want to consider opening a window for a little while. That sort of a thing.
Wow.
Really cool. So there are two models. One is the wireless scale that just does weight and BMI, and the other is the smart body analyzer, and that does weight, body fat, heart rate, air quality. So it's a robust scale. I thought it was going to be ridiculous, and now I weigh myself every morning, and it is super accurate, and my doctor loves it. He can see exactly what my weight is. They don't have to, they weigh me at the office, but it's always at a weird time of day, and I'm always... I weigh more.
It's never accurate.
It's never accurate.
It's never accurate.
And so this is something that my doctor has really said, this is really useful. It's useful to have this kind of data and be able to just look at it. So that is the Smart Body Analyzer. I love the scale. Finally, and then I'm going to shut up. 3 quick recommendations for mindfulness, because once you have done all this connecting and tracking and stuff, you got to integrate it. So I have 3 things. One of them is the mindfulness bell. This was my wife's recommendation. It is a ridiculously simple website. It is as low-tech of a high-tech solution as I could find. It comes from the Washington Mindfulness Community. And all it does is tell you, is help you say when you want a bell to ring on your computer, right? I would like a bell to ring every 15 minutes. I would like a bell to ring every 30 minutes. I would like a bell to ring randomly between 15 and 60 minutes. I would like a bell reminder at a specific time. And the whole purpose is, while you are sitting there working on something, that it bings you to kick you back in from those moments when you find you're stuck in a stare out the window, or you're picking at your fingernails, or you're drinking way too much coffee, or whatever. It just reminds you to stay present in the exact moment that you are living right now. And I think that's a really cool idea and very, very simple.
Yeah. And I think that what comes to my mind is having it be a reminder for you, not necessarily all the time, every day, because there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And this is obviously one of them. But I think this would be really helpful for me when you're done with work. Yeah. And you're at home and you're having dinner. I know this sounds kind of weird, but
I like this.
Yeah, having that bell go off just in the background to remind you to stay mindful and present with your family, or you're at a game watching your child, play basketball. It's like people might think you're kind of weird because they're hearing bells.
Yeah, right.
but I mean, I just I take that as being outside of work, just to remember, hey, leave work alone and focus on what's in front of you or what's important, right now. I like that.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Simple.
Very simple. So that is that's the mindfulness, the link in the show notes, the mindfulness bell. And I'll make this the last one. Day 1 is, as you know, we've talked about this a number of times. Day 1, Day 1 2.
Has launched.
Day 1 2 has launched for the Mac
Day
and
1 2,
iOS.
That just sounds funny.
It is. I love it. And again, this is Mac centric, but again, use this as an opportunity to research what if you find this is useful, then think about it in terms of a practice, because I have a challenge for you. I use Day 1 every day, and I use it because it allows me to set daily reminders to write about what I'm doing right now. It says, hey, just wake up. Here's an alert. Write down a sentence or two about what you're experiencing right now, right? Mm-hmm. And I do that, and I use it to catalog the work that I've done that day. What did I accomplish? What am I most proud of about my day? I always sort of ask myself that question. And what are my kids most proud of? That's become our dinner conversation. What's the one thing you're most proud of accomplishing today, or the thing
nice.
You're most proud of sharing with somebody else today, or something. And so my challenge is this. Both my wife and I are in the middle of this. Delete Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest, whatever your social network of choice is. Delete it from your phone. And every time you would otherwise be tempted to check in on Facebook, open Day 1 and write a sentence or two about the experience you're having right now. It is absolutely private. It is saved for you as long as you keep your phone up to date and migrated. Take a couple of pictures of what you're looking at right now, and at the end of the month, share it with your spouse or partner or friends, and see what you get out of that experience.
So are you saying don't ever get on Facebook?
No, what I am saying is generally, you're probably not missing as much as you like to think you're missing. by jumping onto Facebook, and probably if you're standing in line at a store or at the DMV or something like that, and generally you're just spending away time, your brain will be better impacted. You will build some new pathways if you create something new for yourself and find a way to integrate what has happened to you or what is happening to you right then in writing than you would be by just spinning up the Facebook timeline.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Interesting. I'm going to try that.
It ends up being really cool, especially if you have an accountability partner for you. And so my wife and I did it. We just said, we're going to commit to writing something in day one every day leading up to Christmas, and sitting down together and reviewing those things that we felt like were worth sharing with each other ended up being really special. And you don't really have an idea of just how special it is once you publish it to Facebook, it's just gone. It's just out there and it zips off of the timeline. It is so fleeting that the utility of it is just there is such little utility of that one piece. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot to love about Facebook. I really do.
Right.
In terms
You're
of
not
what
saying
it does.
never look at
I'm
it,
not
but
saying
you don't
never
need to be looking at it all the time throughout the day because you're waiting in line for something.
And you may find that you are in a great space, after a couple of weeks to put Facebook back on your phone and be able to balance the two. I encourage you to experience what it's like without it and find this as a replacement, this act of actively writing just a couple of sentences about your experience every day will increase mindfulness and increase your ability to integrate what you are learning about yourself every day as you try to build new habits.
I love it.
That's my
good stuff.
Good. All right. Well, it was way too long, so I apologize for that. But I have so much fun doing these things. Sometimes I just can't shut up.
Well, and it's been a long time since we've done a tech episode. I think since last year. So,
I know, so maybe you were due. Okay.
You were due this show.
I will take it. That's awesome.
Well, this is great. Thank you, Pete. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write a blog post this week, and I'm going to highlight some of my favorites that you mentioned here. So I know you're going to have the show notes available for everybody that's listening to, but there's a few in here that really caught my eye, and I want to pay a little more attention to. So I'm going to write those in the blog as well, just to let people know. So check that out as well.
Awesome. Well, this is perfect. So thank you, everybody, for listening and downloading. Nikki, thank you for your patience with me and my digital nerdery. And on behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.